Get started here. All right. Give me a minute. All right. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment of Community Candid. As promised, I would come back to you with information about the AIDS, HIV rise, especially. I mean, it's been continuously rising in the South, but we are having a serious issue with AIDS, HIV in South Carolina, but Manning, South Carolina in particular. Today, I want to talk about that issue, especially since it's what they consider Valentine's Day. And if you have not gone on our website at the 19 Report on YouTube and check out the Valentine Deception, it is a broadcast that we did pertaining to Valentine's Day and its origin in sexual orgies, its origin in sexual parties, and how the heart shape is actually not the shape of the physical heart, but the heart shape is actually the shape of a woman's derriere when you're having sexual relations from the back. It is also the shape of a woman's bosom when it's lifted up, and you can see the split where the bosom separate and it comes down. And it's also the shape of the female lips, and it's also the shape when you're looking very close at the female vagina. So this day called Valentine's Day is actually a ritual of sexual conquest. That's why the color red is involved with it, and that's why the chocolates, which is an aphrodisiac, which is supposed to increase the sex drive, and that's why even the chocolate. And I'm not trying to be vulgar, but the chocolate represents anal sex. So, and in anal sex, whether it's male or female, that's where we have the issue, not only with the viral load of AIDS, HIV, but even the viral load of any, if you have a cold, if you have the flu, if you have COVID, the viral load usually accumulates around the anal cavity in that area down in the lower part of the prostate. So we want to talk about that today. I got a lot to talk to you about today on Community Candid. This is Jamil Salib Zamir. Thank everyone for tuning in on Instagram that will tune in. I thank everyone for tuning in. We're broadcasting live on 3 Facebook pages. We'll be on the 19 Report. We'll be on the Music Man page as well as Jamil Salib Zamir and on the news feed. So that's 4. Again, we're broadcasting live on Linked, and I appreciate Linked. It's fairly new. Broadcasting on LinkedIn is something that we're going to have to get used to because people don't know how to relate health with wealth. But health and wealth are simultaneous, because if you're not healthy enough to make money, you're not going to make it. If you're not mentally healthy enough to make money, you're not going to make it. And if you're making money and your health fails, you're going to spend all of your money taking care of your health. So it's very relatable if we can look at it that way. And we're broadcasting live on YouTube at the 19 Report. And again on YouTube, what you can do if you would like to support this ministry, if you would like to support it, you can join our YouTube page by donating a monthly fee. There are different fees that you can join the membership. We have memberships that are available, and also you can donate money on that page as well. And we're broadcasting on Twitter. I don't know why we're broadcasting on Twitter. I think it's just because we don't have another place to broadcast. But we're on Twitter, so that's Instagram and all the other pages. Thank you all for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir. I was supposed to do this last night, but I got into this anxiety. Anytime I smell that marijuana smoke and knowing what it does to my throat and my lungs, that allergic reaction, I get rather anxious. It's almost like being in a pool or being in the ocean and drowning and knowing you can't breathe, and that panic that comes along with it. And I understand that we're addicts and we don't care about anything. We're just so super tough now. We don't care about anyone. And that's going to end up being our eventual downfall. But today, HIV, the faces of an epidemic. I'm doing this not just for the older ones, but I'm also doing it for the younger ones who are engaged in sexual activity without responsibility, who are justifying multiple partners, but we have to be very careful about this. So I hope you will share this information. We'll be right back after this promo.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong. Took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone. And then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone. Solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one. Right to left counted, 9 and then 1. Left to right, switch it, 1 and then 9. West to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.
All right. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is the HIV Faces of an Epidemic. I want to make this very clear at the outstart. This is not a condemnation of people who are suffering from HIV, but this is indeed a lesson, if you will, and a warning to many. If you can all remember, during the late 80s, early 90s, across town in Manning, we lost a lot of people to AIDS, HIV. It was early in the disease, and many of us didn't know what was going on with the disease. And people looked healthy, very pretty women, very handsome guys. And so that epidemic really, really spread across town in Manning, South Carolina. Many of us lost sisters, brothers, mothers, uncles, dads, and all of that stuff due to the epidemic. And we used the old cliche of they had cancer or something like that. But they died from HIV is the onset of the issue, and it could blow up into being full-blown AIDS. A person told me yesterday, good luck on teaching the subject. Nobody's going to pay you any attention. And I understand that. But when you have a mission and a job to do, you do it, regardless if the people are listening or not. Not only do you do it, but you do it with vigor and tenacity and strength and belief and faith. And you put everything that you have into it in hopes that eventually someone will listen to what you're saying, and in hopes that they will listen to it in a timely fashion. Now, in biblical texts, most of the prophets and messengers during the time had to teach 600, 700, 800 years. I was at a county council meeting on yesterday where a gentleman was trying to get a road paved, and they finally agreed to pave that road, or they're in the first stages of paving that road. And I leaned over to the gentleman and I said, how long were you trying to get this road paved? And he said, 30 years. I thought to myself, because I'm so emotional and so connected to people, I told him out loud, I say, well, I thank God that he's allowing the road to be paved while you are alive. Because if you were to die and then the road got paved, the people would think that the road just got paved because they were paving the road. They don't know how many times you were up here lobbying for the road to be paved. So we just think things happen, like osmosis just happen. But there is a process that make them happen. We've been doing this AIDS HIV commentary. I did it before the internet. I used to do the newsletters and pass out the newsletters. But 7 years ago was the first time that I actually did one live on the internet. I want to put that up there if I can get it up there. Yeah, and it's available on our At the 19 Report, HIV AIDS, Manning, South Carolina, the rise of an epidemic. Now, we did this in 7 years ago. 7 years ago, we did this. HIV AIDS and the CDC, we got their participation in that one when we did it. And you can see right here, it has the CDC, and it says, talks about the virus, how it attacks the immune system. And it says if HIV is not treated, it can lead to AIDS, full-blown AIDS. So yeah, we have that there, available for you on at the 19 Report, and the title is AIDS, HIV, the rising epidemic in South Carolina. Today's topic is AIDS, HIV, faces of an epidemic. So I want to get right into this because we don't want to be too long. We're 10 minutes in. We usually ask that you allow us an hour You can join up with the page. This particular broadcast, we had live interviews with gay males out of Columbia, South Carolina. We had a news report and I think an interview with a young lady who didn't find out that she had contracted AIDS from her boyfriend until she got pregnant, and they asked her how long did she have AIDS. And also there was a older pastor who did not engage in sexual activity until she got married to, I think, someone in the church, and she contracted AIDS from them. And then there was the pastor out of Florida who was arrested for spreading the AIDS HIV virus because he could not control his sexual appetite. Also, one case where the gentleman was cheating on his wife, his wife, with another lady who gave him AIDS, but he couldn't stop dealing with the lady, and she started downplaying the fact that he may have had AIDS, and they actually made a fatal attraction off of this. Um, and he ended up stabbing the lady, killing her, and then finding out later on that he didn't contract the disease. So this one was a very good one, a very informative one, and I think we put some music to it and everything so people would take the time to listen. Uh, but it was very, very informative. So I would encourage us to, if not watch this, watch something about the HIV/AIDS epidemic, especially in Manning, South Carolina, and in surrounding counties. And okay, from that point, I think we want to go directly into, and I know this is a scary subject to talk about because I know that I've spoken with several people, and I know that there's a lot of people who actually have AIDS, full blown AIDS, or are carriers of the HIV virus. But back during the 80s and late 80s and early 90s, those pills that keeps your viral load down was so expensive, most people could not afford them. And because they could not afford them, we had to sit and watch our loved ones die from this horrible disease. Now the pills you can get the refills of them. They're through Medicaid, Medicare. You're able to get these pills, and your viral load is so low that you can really not tell that a person has HIV. It is a law that you must reveal your sexual status to any partner that you may have. I think it's a felony under the law, if I'm not mistaken. We can look that up later. But it is a law that you reveal your sexual status, whether you are HIV positive or not. That's the law. Now, the subject that I'm talking about today, it's taboo. These are the type of subjects that are flagged by the internet, especially Facebook. And so if I'm blocked, I apologize for that. But if I was doing some booty shows or something like that, I would get right through. So Clarendon County, 31,000 to 33,000 people in the area. There is there's a percentage of those people who may have the AIDS HIV virus and don't know it, and many of them who have it and are fully aware of it. So I want to go through some statistics today about South Carolina and the AIDS. I want to go through the AIDS map. You can find this AIDS map on the internet. Just go to Google and type in AIDS map for South Carolina, and it'll show you the statistics. But before we do that, I want to go into something very, very important. I usually get information from the CDC. I just showed you the how we connected together on the AIDS epidemic broadcast. But I got this on last night, and I wanted to read some of it. It's in relations to the AIDS HIV um, um, epidemic, because when people are angry or violent or feeling sad or depressed, sometimes they turn to sex. So I want to go into this real quick. The topic is CDC says teen girls are caught in an extreme wave of sadness and violence. A new report finds an overwhelming wave of violence and trauma and never before seen levels of hopelessness and suicidal thoughts among high school students in the U.S. I'm going to read that again. A new report finds an overwhelming wave of violence and trauma and never before seen levels of hopelessness and suicidal thoughts among high school students in the US. Now, I'm going to read a little bit of this and then we're going to go on to something else. Says sexual attacks and other traumatic experiences have led to an unprecedented level of hopelessness and suicidal thoughts among American young women. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported on Monday. Our teen girls are suffering through an overwhelming wave of violence and trauma, and it's affecting their mental health, said Kathleen Ethier, director of the CDC Division of Adolescence and School Health. Results from the CDC 2021 Youth Risk Behavior Survey shows startling trends. Nearly 3 in 5 teen girls, 57%, said they felt persistently sad or hopeless. That's the highest rate in a decade, and 30% said they have seriously considered dying by suicide, a percentage that's risen by nearly 60% over 10 years. Why am I talking about this? Years ago, I told you about the ritual of young girls joining gangs and other groups. And not only gangs, but even if you want to be a part of certain social groups, you have to begin to give yourself up sexually. No one is being tested for AIDS. No one is being tested for HIV. There may be prophylactics available. On top of that, in Clarendon County in particular, there is a rise in what we call swinging groups. And swinging groups are married or girlfriend and boyfriend who all get together and just swap partners. There's a lot of that goes on here. That's a personal thing. I don't have a problem with that. If you're an adult, you do what you want to do. But again, we're not being tested. We're not being vetted. We're not being asked if you have any sexual diseases. And diseases are being spread by that method. So young girls, depressed, violent, being raped, being forced into sex. And this is happening in your clubs. This is happening. I mean, there was a situation where I pulled up to do some yard work years ago, and there was a young lady in a car, and there were 3 carloads of guys, and at least 4 of them were in the car with the girl. And they all were taking turns having sex with her. I didn't want to see the girl's face. I knew many of the guys, but I didn't want to see the girl's face. But for all of you that have daughters, this is where we're going. Sex is the answer to a lot of things, but it's the answer to nothing at the same time because the children aren't being taught the proper way to engage in sexual activity. So I wanted to get that out there in relations to what we're talking about right now. And now what I want to do is go into the AIDS map. And I hope this will stay up on the screen the whole time that I'm talking about it. Again, this is the map from 2020. I don't know if there's one out yet. I think they do it a certain number of years, but we want to go into that. You won't be able to see that on Instagram, but I will be reading the information. You can visualize it. Then if you want to see the visuals, you can go to one of our websites, Jamil Salib Zamir, on Facebook, the Music Man on Facebook, or the 19 Report on Facebook. You can also check in with us at Johnny Wilson in linked, or you can go to at the 19 Report on YouTube. All of the information will be available there. And I encourage you to actually donate. We have a donate button. I encourage you to donate to this ministry. And I'm looking for another word besides ministry, because once a thing gets played out, I don't want nothing to do with it. Everybody got a ministry going on. So let's go into these statistics. And again, the screen looks like it's going to be blanking out once in a while. I got a straight hard line to the internet. Everything is solid. I got a VPN running. But whenever Jamil comes on any of his pages, something is always interrupting my broadcast, and I apologize about that. But we're going to keep going. Local data, South Carolina, in 2020, there were 17,914 people living with HIV in South Carolina. In 2020, 655 people were newly diagnosed with HIV. The percentage of people living with HIV by sex in 2020. The male population, 71.9%, female, 21.8%. Of course, we know that male on male sex and engaging in sex through the anal cavity, as we were talking about, the viral load settles at the bottom of the anal cavity. And once you penetrate the anus, if there's any form of bleeding or any fluid that is carrying the virus, if you're not protected, then you risk the possibilities of contracting AIDS, HIV. I'm not condemning your lifestyle. I'll tell you my own personal story before this ends, because I like to include myself in on things so you'll understand that this is not a condemnation. We're talking about subjects that are not being talked about. And unfortunately, we believe that because Jesus died for our sins, that means nobody is going to die from disease or guns or nothing. But you see right in your face, people are dying from disease and gun violence and all these things. Yet we don't put our minds together, resources together, in order to alert the people to the dangers of what's happening throughout society. We are always looking for a quick fix to everything without any effort. We'll laugh and we'll joke, we'll do sports, we'll do all of these things, but we won't put forth the effort, as if though our children will not be affected by these things. They will. Everybody has a sexual appetite. Anybody can catch a bullet. You found that out, unfortunately, in Sumter at the McDonald's during the weekend, where the young man was hit with someone else's, a bullet intended for someone else, and we've lost another young man. Percentage of people living with HIV by race and ethnicity. This is what I wanted to get to. Percentage of blacks in South Carolina, 64.5%. Percentage of Hispanics and Latinos, 6%. Percentage of whites, 23.4%. The largest number are blacks. I'm going to be going through this new HIV diagnosis. Again, the number of new HIV diagnoses in 2020 was 655. That's 3 years later. And I promise you, this disease has quadrupled since 2020. But the percentage of newly diagnosed cases with HIV by sex in the male population, 79.4%. Because I'm telling you, with all of these young men being locked up in prison, their sex drives don't go nowhere. And a percentage of them are engaging in anal sex. I know what I'm talking about. I talk to people. A percentage of them are engaging in anal sex. The female population, 20.6%. And again, the females are being involved with males who have the disease. I don't know what the process is now, but when you entered prison, you were tested for all types of diseases, but they don't test you on your way out. So you don't know what you've contracted in and what you're taking home or what you're taking out to society. Rates of new HIV cases per 1,000, population in 2020 is 15. Percentage of people newly diagnosed with HIV by race, ethnicity in 2020, again, is 61%. Black, Hispanics, and Latinos, 7.9, and whites, 24%. It's always a high percentage when it comes to blacks and irresponsibility. Now, pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP. Number of PrEP users in 2021 is 2,729. Now, these Provido and other medications actually helps to lower the viral load, from what I understand, or prevent the spread of the disease. Percentage of PrEP users by sex in 2021, 90% of males, 9.6% of females. I'm coming to a point, because in 2023, the females are contracting HIV more so than the males. Percentage of PrEP users by ethnicity, only 35% out of the 90% of males, blacks, 22.9% Hispanic, and 58.6% in white. Whites are really taking advantage of the PrEP. This is what I'm encouraging us to do. Begin to take advantage of using preventive measures, uh, because among our young, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, but I don't know if it's in the steroids in the food or what, but they literally have um, their penises are like very long, and the average uh, prophylactic may fit over the head of the penis, but it does not fit it the way that it can protect, because as soon as they enter the anal cavity or the vagina, if it is not lubricated, the tip of the prophylactic is going to bust, and so you're entering into the male or the female completely raw without protection, and this is something that we're warning against. The age group of people using PrEP now is between 13 and 24, 13 and 24, 2.9%, 25 through 34, 4%, 45 through 54, 3%, and ages 55, 4.2%. Now, HIV continuum of care, I don't even think we have to go into that. A late HIV diagnosis is defined as having an AIDS diagnosis within 3 months of initial HIV diagnosis. So if you're a carrier of the HIV virus and you don't get tested, within 3 months of being a carrier of HIV, it could become full-blown AIDS. So number of new HIV diagnoses that were diagnosed in the late 2020s, 162. Percentage of new HIV diagnoses that were diagnosed in the late 2020s is 24%. The highest percentage among blacks, and next, actually, the highest percentage of HIV cases in the late 2000s was among Hispanics at 40%, blacks next at 23, and then whites at 22. I'm coming to a point. Link to HIV care. Links to care is defined as having a visit with an HIV healthcare provider within 1 month of being diagnosed with HIV. The number of people diagnosed with HIV and linked to HIV care, 576. Percentage of people diagnosed with HIV care in South Carolina, 87.9%. Again, the males, listen to this. Portions of people linked to HIV care by sex, 87.3% male, 90% female. 90% female. So the disease is being carried by the females. Viral suppression is defined as those living with diagnosed HIV who have suppressed HIV viral load. Number of people living with HIV in South Carolina who were virally suppressed in 2020, 12,432. Out of the 17,000, 12,434 viral load has been suppressed to the point where it's almost undetectable. They are still carriers of the HIV virus. It's still dangerous. You still must protect yourself, but they look as if though they have no issues. And I want to also say that the image that I have up of the people with their face covered are actual peoples from South Carolina who have either full-blown AIDS or HIV. I was given permission to show their faces, but I think for legalities, I should have covered their face, and so I did. But I thank all of you for allowing me to do that. The HIV mortality rate in 2020 was 234. Percentage among males was 72%, among females 27%, among blacks 67%, among whites 24%, Hispanics and Latinos on 2.6%. The age group, the highest age group who died from AIDS, HIV, 35 through 44, 45 through 54, and 55 and up. Because these people think that they're in the clear from needing protection from catching diseases. HIV prevalence rate ratio by race ethnicity in 2020, the rate of black males living with an HIV diagnosis, 6.2 times that of white males. The rate of black females living with an HIV diagnosis, 11.1 times that of white females. A late HIV diagnosis is defined as having an AIDS diagnosis within 3 months of initial HIV diagnosis. By state, 24.7%. By region, 21. In the United States, 21.6. So by state, 7.5% are diagnosed with HIV, but 24.7% are diagnosed with full-blown AIDS. And check this out. People living with HIV by transmission, category 2020, percentage of black people living with AIDS, HIV. Male transmission category, male to male sex, 73%. Male to male sex, 73%. Drug use, 7%. Heterosexual contact, a whopping 13.8%. And male to male sexual contact and injecting drugs, 5.2%. In females, injecting drug use, 14%. Heterosexual contact, 83%. 83% of females either spread the virus or contract the virus through heterosexual sex. In 2020, I'm coming to a point. There's always a point. With 32 minutes in, I'm asking you to give me an hour. It's necessary. All I can do is put the information out there, put the warning out there. You do what you want to with the information. I'm not here to entertain. I'm trying to make it entertaining, but I'm not here to entertain. People newly diagnosed with HIV by transmission, again, male to male sexual contact, 85.2%, and heterosexual sex through female, 86%. People are not getting tested. The test data represents in 2020 weighted estimates of HIV testing prevalence, selected demographic characteristics based on responses to the behavioral risk factor surveillance system. Survey questions: have you ever been tested for AIDS? Overall, 40% said yes. By age, 35 through 44. And by ethnicity, blacks, 58.7%, who, according to the statistics, have been tested. I encourage you to go to the South Carolina AIDS map and find out the information. We talked about syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia, which is always on the rise, especially in South Carolina. Now, HIV criminalization in 2022. States have HIV-specific criminal laws and or sentencing enhancements applicable to people living with HIV. There are laws that are put in place for that. There are also organizations who are putting forth money to help those who are skeptical about going to a clinic or anything to get tested, to test yourself at home. So I want to put this map up real quick because I want to show you South Carolina if I can. And that's South Carolina, and here, right here, is Williamsburg County. Again, where the rise of AIDS, HIV is in the red section. Anything above 400 is in the red section. And the counties that are in the red section, I'm going to go by county if I can, uh, as proof. We're here in Fairfield County, 519 out of every 1,000 people. You do the math. Richland County, 874. Of course, you know Richland is very high up in AIDS, HIV, and other diseases. I think they're like number 3 in the United States. Clarendon County, 579 out of every 100,000 people were living with HIV. And again, Clarendon only has about 33,000 people. So you do the math. Then we have Orangeburg County, which has 663 cases of reported HIV. Williamsburg County has 864 of reported HIV. Lee County, 1,249 cases of reported HIV, and that's in 2020. Darlington County, 477. These are all in the high rankings. Marlborough County, 474. Dillon County, 585. Marion County, 624. Florence, 682. And Williamsburg County, again, 864. So in our region, Manning and surrounding areas, as you can see, all above 428 cases of AIDS, HIV reported. Now, as always, we try to think of solutions to problems. And I received a message in my emails that you could sign up for a free AIDS HIV test. You can do it at home, and as a matter of fact, they sent me a email today asking me, did I complete the test and what was the result of the test, so that you can know what your next move is. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit. We're 37 minutes in my personal journey. I was with a young lady who was actually involved with a man that was in prison, but he was in prison for such a long period of time that she and I developed a relationship. He knew about the relationship, but the understanding of the relationship was the closer he got to his day of getting out, released from prison, it was my time to exit the relationship. Nice young lady. We cared for each other. We looked out for each other. We engaged in sexual activity with each other as well. When it was time for us to separate, the separation was amicable. I think that's the word I'm looking for, but not so much so, because unfortunately she had fallen in love with me or whatever. But because I left the situation as promised on that bro code, on that I got to be gone, so I left. She started to spread the rumor throughout Manning that I had AIDS. I met another young lady. She didn't say anything about it, but she mentioned it later on. I heard that you had AIDS. It's going around that you got AIDS. So I said, I didn't hear about it. I don't know nothing about it. But what I will do is I will go take an AIDS test. That's when Dr. Keith's office was open. She said, okay, but I said, oh, if I'm going to take the test, you're going to take the test too, because I don't know what you got. So we took the test. It was nerve-wracking because I didn't know that nobody was saying that I had AIDS. Did she have it? Did something I didn't know? But it came back negative. But someone else that I know very close to me ended up being HIV positive. My point is that it can happen to anyone at any time. And we take the disease as a stigma of just dirty people engaging in sex, and it's not always that. People have a right to engage in sex in whatever way they feel they want to. That's not the condemnation. The condemnation is that we now know these diseases are out there. We must begin to protect ourselves, educate our children. We can't, the scripture says that I don't even know if the scripture says that. I keep repeating this thing and I'm going to have to look it up. you trust God, but you tie your camel in words, or that words without actions are futile, or that prayer without works are futile. So we can trust that God will watch over us, but we also have to do work. My job, by God's permission, is regardless, do work. Prophets and messengers have done work with no one listening for thousands of years, but it must be done. We're 40 minutes in, and so I'm going to do this. I filled out the information about the HIV test recently because I take one every year. The HIV test came in a FedEx box, private box. The minute it came, I got an email saying that we have record that you've received the package, and that please return your results within a week. Not only did they send the HIV test, but they also sent HIV 101, which is a lesson on how the disease is transmitted, how you can protect yourself, how to keep yourself healthy and protected from others. This is information that is now available. We can get this. I mean, it's a very informative little booklet with all you may need to know about AIDS, HIV. I'm encouraging us on this Valentine's Day, this orgy day, this party day. This is the day we get drunk and screw our brains out. Even if you're not well, even if your menstrual cycle on, we giving up booty this today. Rather it's anal or oral or through the vagina, it's sex day. So I'm encouraging us to be caution, err on the side of caution. The AIDS test arrived in a Aura Quick, not for sale. It came in Spanish and in English. Trying to get it right in the camera is the most difficult thing. For you all on Instagram, the AIDS test came. It came with instructions on the back. It's telling you not to drink alcohol or use mouthwash or anything because you have to use a swab to swab the top gum and the bottom gum inside the gum and put the and use it. I completed the test, and the test is super duper 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 duper. Very easy to do. You open this container that has the solution in it. You put it in this little pocket, and then you swab your mouth with this part, and then you put it in there, and you wait 20 minutes. The entire swab is going to turn pink, but then it's going to start to fade. And if it has 2 lines on it, you're positive, and you must report that. If it has 1 line on it, the test is negative. I took a picture of it because I didn't know how well you would be able to see it, but it's 1 line. And my test was, it's still there. My test this time was negative. So now what I have to do is I have to send a message to the company and let them know my test results. Very easy 5-step thing that you can do at home, and it's a free test. I encourage us to do that. So we have problem, action, solution. All of these things available in 43 minutes. So I thank you all for tuning in. I think that's it. We are in the time of all of the plagues, all of the plagues, including death. 10 plagues. Disease is going to be very rampant. It already is. And I know it's a taboo subject. I know a lot of people who lost their loved ones to AIDS, HIV. That was in the early stages of it. And I wrote about that in my book, The AIDS Epidemic and What It Would Be Like. And I wrote that in 1980, 89. So I encourage you also still to get the book. It's entitled Few. It's on Amazon. You can go to Amazon, and all 3 volumes of the book are available on Amazon. And you go to the ebook section of Amazon, and you type in, I'm going to try to do this if I can, because things be kind of blah blah for me, you know what I mean? Yeah. You go to you're on Amazon, you go to books, and then type in Johnny Wilson, It's my name. And you might have to type in few. I don't know. Let me see. I'm scrolling down the list. And my book, yeah, there we go. I'm like the 10th one on the list. There I am right there. The book is entitled Few, Volume 1. It was published in 2010, but there are 3 volumes to the book. Few, Volume 1. It's if you are unlimited, if you have Amazon Prime, and it'll be unlimited on Kindle. If you are Kindle Unlimited, have a membership. If not, the book is $9.99 to buy the digital copy. That's the first book, but there are 3 volumes of the book. They're usually together, but sometimes you have to scroll down to find them. Usually, when the sales are high, they put your book back up on the high shelf. And my sales have dwindled a little bit, and so it's still in the first level area of books, though. So that's a good thing. So you can go to Amazon and purchase the book. There are 3 volumes to the book. This is volume 1. You also be able to read excerpts from the book if you're interested in that. And I will be posting up another book very soon, within a few months, because I am working on another book entitled The Fear of Being Afraid. So please share this information about the AIDS, HIV epidemic, what we must do about it. I was looking for my other volumes, but I think people, they split the books up so much. So, but it's three volumes available. Okay, so you can get that online, and we talk about what was coming with the AIDS HIV virus before it even got to the point. Here we are right here. I'm sorry. Volume 3, Many Claim Call but Few Are Chosen, is available right here. And then volume 2, volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3, they're still together. You can see them right there. They're available on Amazon. So I encourage you all to purchase those books. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. As promised, we would come on with the Faces of an Epidemic. If anyone would like to share their story about their AIDS journey, I encourage you to give me a call, and we can either do it online or we can do it in person. I promise you, your life is of value. We can do it anonymously, to where your voice is just heard, no face. But please keep in mind that we ask serious questions pertaining to the disease. Thank you all for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina.
Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.